imagine the purest joy. The crisp, clean air of a December morning, the soft blanket of fresh snow, transforming the world outside into a glistening wonderland. Inside, the scent of pine needles and cinnamon fills the air, mingling with the sleepy warmth of a perfectly cozy home. It's Christmas morning, a day woven with magic, laughter, and the boundless excitement of children. For many, it's the most anticipated day of the year, a kaleidoscope of bright paper, hopeful wishes, and shared love. But what if that perfect, sparkling moment, that cherished memory of festive cheer, suddenly twisted into an unspeakable horror? What if the brightest dawn became the darkest nightmare? This is a story that begins exactly like that. Not in a shadowy, forgotten corner, but in the heart of a vibrant American town in 1990. A town much like yours, where neighbors knew each other and children played freely in the streets. It's the story of the Roberts family, Sarah and David, a loving couple, and their two bright-eyed, spirited twin boys, Ethan and Liam. Just 5 years old, identical in every way. Down to their infectious giggles and their shared obsession with Santa Claus, Christmas was their personal wonderland. A yearly miracle they believed in with every fiber of their being. Their parents lived for their boys' smiles, for the sparkle in their eyes as they whispered their Christmas wishes. The previous evening had been perfect. Cookies left for Santa, stockings hung with care, and the boys tucked snugly into their beds, dreams of new toys dancing in their heads. The house was quiet, the kind of deep, peaceful quiet that only settles in after a long night of preparations and eager anticipation. Sarah woke first, a gentle smile on her face, eager to see the chaos and joy that awaited them downstairs. She glanced at the clock. 6:30 a.m. Unusual. The boys were always up before the sun on Christmas morning, usually bursting into their bedroom, full of energy, ready to tear open presents. But today, silence. An odd, uncharacteristic stillness. She thought little of it at first. Perhaps they were just sleeping soundly, exhausted from their Christmas Eve excitement. David stirred beside her, and they exchanged a loving glance, both silently anticipating the joyful pandemonium about to erupt. But the silence lingered, a subtle, unsettling presence. Sarah slid out of bed, her heart a little lighter with the promise of the day. She walked down the hall, expecting to hear the rustle of wrapping paper or the excited murmurs of her sons. But the boys' bedroom door was ajar and the room was empty. Her smile faltered. Maybe they had snuck downstairs already, unable to wait, but they never did that, not without waking them. A flicker of unease, like a cold draft, touched her. David, sensing her sudden stillness, followed her. As they looked into the silent, empty room, their breath hitched. The beds were unmade, sheets slightly tangled, but no trace of Ethan or Liam. The thrill of Christmas morning began to curdle, replaced by a cold, creeping dread. The perfect morning was suddenly, irrevocably, broken. If this chilling beginning has already sent shivers down your spine, imagine what else this story holds. Don't miss a single terrifying detail. Hit that subscribe button now and join us as we uncover one of the most perplexing and heartbreaking mysteries of Christmas. Our story takes us to the picturesque town of Willow Creek, nestled amidst rolling hills and ancient forests in the heart of America. In 1990, Willow Creek was everything you'd imagine a small town to be. Quiet, community-oriented, and seemingly untouched by the harsh realities of the outside world. People left their doors unlocked, children played outside until dusk, and the annual Christmas parade was the highlight of the year. The Roberts family embodied the spirit of Willow Creek. David, a kind and steady engineer, and Sarah, a warm and nurturing schoolteacher, had built a loving home filled with laughter and simple joys. Their twin sons, Ethan and Liam, were the light of their lives. Identical in appearance, they were distinct in personality. Ethan, the adventurous and curious one, always leading the charge, and Liam, the slightly more reserved and thoughtful twin, who often kept a watchful eye on his brother. They were inseparable, a constant source of amusement and pride for their parents. Every Christmas, their home transformed into a festive wonderland, a testament to the family's deep love and commitment to tradition. This particular Christmas of 1990 was supposed to be the most magical yet, filled with the innocence and wonder of 5-year-olds on the cusp of truly believing in Santa. No one in Willow Creek, least of all the Roberts, could have ever imagined the unspeakable horror that awaited them when the sun rose on that fateful Christmas morning, the evening of December 24th, 1990. In the Roberts' home was a scene plucked straight from a holiday greeting card. Snowflakes danced outside their living room window, softly blanketing the front yard in a pristine white. Inside, the fireplace crackled merrily, casting warm, dancing shadows on the walls adorned with twinkling lights and homemade paper chains. The air was thick with the scent of freshly baked gingerbread and the earthy fragrance of their magnificent Christmas tree, adorned with treasured ornaments gathered over years of family memories. Ethan and Liam, bundles of boundless energy, were buzzing with an almost unbearable excitement. Their little faces were alight with joy as they helped their mother, Sarah, place the plate of cookies and a glass of milk by the fireplace for Santa. "He needs energy, Mama," Ethan declared with utmost seriousness, his small hand carefully pushing a chocolate chip cookie closer to the hearth. Liam, ever the more thoughtful twin, leaned in conspiratorially. "Do you think he'll like the drawing we made him, Papa?" Their father, a man of quiet strength and endless patience, ruffled Liam's hair. "I'm certain he'll love it, son. It's the best drawing he'll get all night." They read "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" for the 10th time that week. The boys snuggled close, their eyes wide with wonder at the magic of the tale. When it was finally time for bed, there were the usual protests. But the promise of Santa's arrival had them scampering up the stairs, their little feet thudding softly on the carpet. Sarah and David tucked them in, kissing their soft cheeks. "Merry Christmas, my angels," Sarah whispered, stroking Ethan's hair. "Dream of sugar plums," David added, pulling Liam's blanket up to his chin. The boys, with sleepy smiles, murmured their goodnights, their eyelids already heavy. Sarah and David lingered for a moment, watching their sons' twin bundles of innocent hope drift off to sleep. They were profoundly grateful for the beautiful life they had built, for the precious gifts of their children. The house finally fell silent, save for the gentle crackling of the fire, as Sarah and David retreated, full of happy anticipation for the magical morning to come. The alarm clock blinked 6:30 a.m. Sarah's eyes fluttered open, a wide smile already forming on her lips. This was it, Christmas morning. Her mind immediately pictured Ethan and Liam, probably already bouncing on their beds, or worse, trying to sneak a peek at the presents downstairs. They were never ones to sleep in on such a momentous day. She stretched, then nudged David gently. "Shh, Merry Christmas, sleepyhead. The boys will be up any minute," adored. But the minutes ticked by, and the house remained eerily silent. No excited whispers, no thud of small feet, no joyful shouts. Just a profound, almost suffocating quiet. Sarah's brow furrowed. "That's odd," she murmured, swinging her legs out of bed. "They're usually like little firecrackers on Christmas." David, now awake, sat up, listening. The silence was indeed unsettling. Sarah padded quietly down the hall towards the boys' room. The door was slightly ajar, just as they'd left it last night. She pushed it open slowly, expecting to see 2 lumps under the covers, perhaps trying to trick them. But the beds were empty, neatly unmade, but undeniably empty. Her heart gave a sudden, cold lurch. "David," she called out, her voice a little breathless. "They're not here." David was instantly by her side, his gaze sweeping the small room. He checked under the beds, in the closet, even behind the curtains, a growing panic in his eyes that mirrored hers. "Maybe they went downstairs," he suggested, though the doubt was clear in his voice. They'd never ever gone downstairs without waking their parents first. This was their Christmas morning tradition. The warmth of the house seemed to drain away, replaced by a sudden chilling cold. The festive decorations, so full of cheer just hours ago, now seemed to mock the growing emptiness in their chests. They hurried downstairs, their bare feet silent on the cold wooden floor. The living room, a wonderland of gifts and sparkling lights just hours before, now seemed vast and desolate. The wrapped presents sat untouched under the tree. The plate of cookies for Santa remained full, the milk glass still beside it. No evidence of a joyous morning, no torn wrapping paper, no excited cries, just a profound, unsettling stillness. "Ethan, Liam?" Sarah called out, her voice a shaky whisper that seemed to vanish into the silence. There was no answer. Only the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the gentle creak of the old house settling. The magic of Christmas had vanished, replaced by an agonizing, terrifying question. Where were their boys? The initial shock gave way to a surge of frantic energy. Sarah and David began a desperate search, their movements jerky and uncoordinated. Ethan, Liam, where are you? This isn't funny. Sarah's voice cracked as she raced from room to room, throwing open doors, peering into every nook and cranny. David was right behind her, his own voice hoarse with a fear he refused to acknowledge. Boys, come out now. They checked the kitchen again, the pantry, the laundry room. They went into the basement, switching on the dim lights, their eyes darting into every shadowy corner. Nothing, just the familiar clutter of stored items. They rushed back upstairs, checking the bathrooms, their own bedroom again, as if the boys might have somehow materialized there. Each empty space was a fresh stab of fear, a confirmation that their precious sons were truly gone. David grabbed his phone, his hands shaking so violently he almost dropped it. He called their closest neighbors, the Millers, who lived just next door. It was still very early on Christmas morning, but desperate times called for desperate measures. John. Mary, it's David. I can't find Ethan and Liam. They're not in their beds, they're not anywhere in the house. Have you? Have you seen them? John Miller, sleepy at first, quickly grasped the gravity of David's words. Not a soul, David, he said, his voice instantly alert. We'll be right over. Within minutes, the Millers, still in their pajamas, were at the Roberts' front door, their faces etched with concern. Mrs. Miller, a kind-faced woman who adored the twins, immediately joined Sarah in a systematic room-to-room search, calling out the boys' names, her voice growing increasingly worried. Mr. Miller helped David check the garage, the small garden shed, and then the backyard, despite the fresh, untouched snow that covered everything. But there were no footprints leading away from the house, no sign that anyone had left through the back door. The snow was a perfect, undisturbed canvas. It was as if the boys had simply vanished into thin air. The festive Christmas morning had been utterly shattered, replaced by an all-consuming dread. As the minutes stretched into an agonizing hour, the grim reality began to sink in. The boys were not playing a game. They were truly gone. With trembling hands, David made the call that no parent ever wants to make to the police. Within what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 10 minutes, the quiet street of Willow Creek was suddenly alight with the flashing blue and red of police cruisers. Officer Jenkins, a seasoned veteran with a kind but serious demeanor, was the first to arrive. Mr. and Mrs. Roberts, he began, his voice calm amidst their rising panic. Please tell me exactly what happened? Sarah, her eyes red and swollen, recounted the morning's events, her voice a shaky whisper. David added details, emphasizing the untouched snow, the lack of any sign of forced entry. So, no broken windows, no unlocked doors? Officer Jenkins asked, meticulously taking notes. None, David confirmed, his voice thick with despair. Everything was locked up tight when we went to bed. A larger police presence soon arrived, including detectives. The house became a hive of activity, though eerily silent in the parts where the officers searched. They meticulously combed every inch of the home, looking for clues, for anything that could explain the impossible disappearance. Forensic teams dusted for fingerprints, carefully examining every doorknob, every surface. The backyard was thoroughly inspected, the fresh snow undisturbed, confirming David's earlier observation. It was baffling. How could two 5-year-old boys simply vanish from a locked house on a snowy Christmas morning without a single trace? No broken glass, no footprints, no struggle. It defied all logic. The detectives spoke with the Millers, with other neighbors who were now beginning to gather, their faces pale with shock and concern. A full-scale search of the surrounding woods and fields was initiated, but the dense, powdery snow made tracking incredibly difficult. Helicopters whirred overhead, their rotors cutting through the crisp morning air, adding to the surreal nightmare. The entire town of Willow Creek held its breath, a collective dread settling over the Christmas festivities. Everyone silently asked the same terrifying question. If the boys weren't taken from outside and they didn't leave on their own, where on earth could they be? Hours turned into an eternity. The initial organized search began to lose its focus as despair set in. Every corner of the house had been checked, rechecked, and checked again. The officers were about to expand their search beyond the immediate vicinity when something made a detective pause in the living room. Detective Reynolds, a quiet man with sharp eyes, had been staring at the fireplace. It was a grand stone hearth, a centerpiece of the Roberts' cozy living room. It's the very place where the boys had left cookies for Santa just hours before. The stockings still hung innocently. It was a long shot, he thought. Almost impossible. But they had exhausted every other reasonable possibility. He walked over to the fireplace, his gaze drawn to the opening of the chimney. It seemed too narrow for a grown man, certainly, but perhaps not for a small child. He looked up, then reached a hand inside, feeling for any obstruction. Nothing obvious. But then, a faint, almost imperceptible detail caught his eye. A tiny faint scuff mark, high up on the stone, almost hidden by the soot. He called over Officer Jenkins. "Jenkins, bring me a flashlight, maybe a ladder if we have one small enough." Sarah and David, who had been sitting on the couch, wrapped in blankets, watching the fruitless search with numb despair, looked up, a flicker of bewildered hope in their eyes. "What is it, officer? Did you find something?" Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper. Detective Reynolds avoided her gaze. "Just a routine check, ma'am, exhausting all possibilities." With the flashlight, Detective Reynolds shone the beam up into the dark maw of the chimney. He meticulously scanned every inch. The air in the room grew thick with unspoken tension. Then he froze. His breath hitched. The light caught something. Not high up, but just above the smoke shelf, where the flue narrows. Something unnatural, something out of place. A tiny patch of color, not black with soot, but a vivid, impossible red. A small patterned fabric. And beneath it, something else. Small worn toy train, a familiar sight to the Roberts, one of Liam's favorites. Officer Jenkins gasped, his own eyes widening in horror as he followed the beam of light. Detective Reynolds slowly, carefully, extended his hand further, his fingers brushing against something. It was soft, like fabric, but rigid underneath. He pulled his hand back, his face pale. He swallowed hard. "Get a smaller camera," he ordered, his voice unusually strained. "And a stretcher. Call the coroner." Sarah and David watched, their faces turning ashen. They didn't need words. The grim faces of the officers, the hushed, urgent whispers, the sudden shift in atmosphere, it all conveyed a terror far beyond anything they could have imagined. The chimney, the symbol of Christmas magic, had become the darkest, most horrifying secret. What was found within its sooty confines was not a gift from Santa, but a revelation that would forever haunt the Roberts family and the town of Willow Creek. The discovery in the chimney shattered the last remnants of hope. The carefully constructed facade of a routine search crumbled, replaced by the grim reality of a recovery operation. Firefighters were called in, not to put out a blaze, but to carefully dismantle a section of the fireplace, piece by agonizing piece, to reach what lay within. Sarah and David were led away, wrapped in blankets, numb with shock, their pleas to stay met with gentle but firm refusals. They could not bear witness to what was about to unfold. The silence in the living room was now heavy, thick with unspoken horror. As the bricks were meticulously removed, the truth slowly, agonizingly, revealed itself. Tucked deep within the narrow confines of the chimney, tangled amongst soot and masonry, were the small, lifeless forms of Ethan and Liam. Their little bodies were wedged together, one above the other, as if one had tried to help the other, or perhaps they had fallen in together. Their festive pajamas, once so vibrant, were now stained and torn. The toy train, a heartbreaking emblem of their innocent journey, lay beside them. The scene was incomprehensible. How could two small boys, full of life just hours before, end up in such a horrifying place? The initial assessment from the investigators was that it was a tragic accident. Perhaps in their excitement, they had tried to climb up the chimney, hoping to meet Santa, or perhaps they had fallen from above. Through the roof axis, though that seemed incredibly unlikely 4 to 5-year-olds, the chimney had a narrow flue, making it a deadly trap. The sheer cold of the stone, the lack of oxygen, the impact of a fall, any of these could have been fatal. But even as the initial theories of a terrible accident were whispered, a chilling question lingered in the minds of the detectives. How did they get into the chimney without being heard, without disturbing anything else? There was no ladder, no stool. Nothing nearby that they could have used to climb up high enough to enter the flue from the living room. And if they fell from the roof, how did they get onto the roof in the first place, unnoticed in the middle of a snowy night? The snow on the roof was also undisturbed, a pristine white blanket, just like the backyard. The more the investigators looked, the more the pieces didn't quite fit. The horrific discovery raised more questions than it answered, plunging the entire town into a state of profound shock and fear. The Christmas of 1990 in Willow Creek was forever stained by tragedy. The festive decorations came down, replaced by black ribbons and a pervasive sense of grief. The Roberts home, once a beacon of warmth and happiness, became a silent monument to loss. Sarah and David, shattered by the unimaginable, moved through life like ghosts. Their laughter was replaced by quiet sobs, their dreams by endless nightmares. Every nook of their house, every toy, every photograph, was a painful reminder of the vibrant lives that had been so cruelly extinguished. The official conclusion remained a tragic accident, a case of young boys, perhaps fueled by innocent Christmas wonder, venturing into a dangerous place. Yet, the unanswered questions continued to haunt Willow Creek. How could two small children manage to get into such a confined, perilous space without any external aid? Why were there no sounds of struggle? No cries for help from inside a house where their parents were sleeping just a floor above? The pristine, undisturbed snow around the house on the roof offered no clues of outside involvement. Yet it also offered no explanation for how the boys could have ascended to a high point to fall into the chimney. The case, despite extensive investigation, eventually went cold. No evidence of foul play was ever definitively found, but neither was a truly satisfying explanation for the impossible scenario. The memory of Ethan and Liam Roberts, the twin boys who vanished on Christmas morning only to be found in the most unthinkable of places, became a chilling urban legend in Willow Creek. Parents held their children a little tighter each Christmas. Fireplaces, once symbols of warmth and cheer, now carried a silent, terrifying warning. Even decades later, the story of the Roberts twins is whispered on cold winter nights. A stark reminder that sometimes the most horrific truths are found not in the dark shadows of the unknown, but in the heart of what should have been the most beautiful, joyous day of the year. Their disappearance remains a horrifying enigma, a Christmas mystery that continues to send shivers down the spine, leaving behind only the cold, terrifying question of how. And so, the chilling tale of Ethan and Liam Roberts comes to a close. A story that began with the innocent joy of Christmas morning and descended into an unfathomable nightmare. Their disappearance and the terrifying discovery in the chimney left an indelible mark on Willow Creek, a town forever changed by the unexplained. It's a stark reminder that even in the most familiar and seemingly safe places, shadows can lurk and mysteries can defy all logic. The questions surrounding their fate continue to echo through time. How did they get there? Why were there no other signs? Was it truly an accident, or did something far more sinister play out in the quiet hours of that festive dawn? What do you believe happened to Ethan and Liam? Share your theories in the comments below. And if this story sent shivers down your spine, or if you know of other perplexing disappearances, tell us about them. Don't forget to like this video if you found it compelling, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the unexplained, the mysterious, and the truly terrifying. Hit the notification bell so you never miss another story that will keep you up at night. Thank you for joining us on this unsettling journey into the heart of a Christmas tragedy. Until next time, stay safe, and remember, some mysteries are never truly solved.